All right, so today we're speaking with Ricky Roberts, an interesting and complex man who's experienced many major changes and difficult hurdles in his life. Up until 2016, Ricky was gay. Just kidding. He was actually a Democrat, but he's still very much gay. But in today's political arena, it seems like these two are one and the same. However, Ricky broke the mold, becoming one of the original members of the Walk Away campaign, a group encouraging people on the left to walk away from the diverse tenets endorsed and mandated by today's Democrat Party. Today, he's a New York City transplant living in North Carolina, working with Act for America and working on organizing a Gays for Trump meetup in Washington, D.C. in the spring. All that today on the Unframe of Mind show.
You're listening to the Unframe of Mind show, the place to have the most mind-stretching, unprotected, intellectual intercourse of your life. Your hosts battle the forces of evil by lobbing fiery balls of truth, reason, and evidence over safe room walls.
All right, and welcome back to another episode of the Unframe of Mind show. I'm your host, Daniel Wagner.
And co-host Anthony Traylor.
And this is the place where we have uncomfortable conversations without a condom, and today is going to be no different. So I'd like to welcome to the show Ricky Roberts.
Thanks, you guys, for having me on.
Yeah, so I wanted to add. There's a number of questions I've got set up for you, but kind of one of the number ones that got in my mind and I just couldn't get it out of my head was, I wanted to ask you. You remember back in the day when you could be gay and people would let you believe whatever the hell you wanted to believe?
Absolutely.
Yes. So it's almost
like what the hell changed?
Yeah. It's almost like if you're a certain, if you happen to like sex with somebody, that's outside the norm, or if you happen to be a minority color, or you happen to be of a minority belief system, you have to be a Democrat nowadays, or else you're just shunned. And what's been your experience of that?
Well, I had ideas floating around in my brain for a while before I actually came out and said, listen, I'm going to support Trump. Things were just heading in that direction for a while. There were just so many things going on with the Democratic Party. They were really losing me. I'm very much in the center, maybe a little more conservative than most gays, but still gay. And I thought that, by me, being vocal about it, because I felt a lot of other people were feeling the same way that I was. Well, that wasn't the case. I got blasted. And I had a lot of friends, telling me to take a hike. And some celebrities, some of my celebrity friends from my New York days. Tatum O'Neal told me to go fuck myself.
No.
I got a big backlash, and and then after I was like, oh my God, did I make the right decision? Like, is this really worth it? But I persevered. I just got through it, and then I've been able to link up with more people that are like-minded. So it's better now. It's better. But
so just sorry to interrupt you, but just out of curiosity, like when this whole, like you said, you started to see some things in the Democratic Party that you just didn't like. I'm always curious about the change. Is it something that you didn't like about where you were at that you didn't like, or was it something that you saw about the other side that was appealing to you, or a little bit of both?
Well, I think the other side was, I see where the Republicans had started to move back more towards the center.
Mm-hmm.
They were hijacked for a lot of years on the right with the Christian right. But now they moved back more towards center, where the Democrats that used to be center have moved really far to the left, to the point that they're unrecognizable, and it's not my party anymore. But the biggest thing was the Orlando massacre, the terrorist attack in Orlando. When I remember, it was a really terrible thing to happen. And I remember Trump came on and he said, you know what, I'm going to protect all of you. We're on this together. We're going to fight terrorism. We're going to protect Americans. We're going to protect everybody. He was inclusive. I loved his message. Hillary waited to hear what he was going to say. Then she came on after, and she's talking about all Muslims aren't bad. We shouldn't take this out. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? I mean, we're just talking about all these young people being massacred, and she's like defending Muslims when that isn't even the hot topic at the point. They just lost it.
Now, wait a minute. Now, when Trump said the exact same thing, that there's bad people on both sides during Charlottesville, like he was basically hung out to dry for that, and people attacked him like crazy. But Hillary said the same thing, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's always a double standard. It's always a double.
And it's amazing how people don't recognize the difference in the correlations between the two, and then they're so quick to find that party that they seem to relate to and jump on that bandwagon. But for God forbid, if it's somebody that they don't least just like a little bit, all of a sudden it's taboo and they shouldn't be saying that. So I don't know. It's interesting to me anyways. But let me ask you a question. So we briefly have talked about the Walk Away campaign, and you kind of gave me a little bit of insight on that. So can you kind of give us some background on how that materialized and how that came forth in your experience with that campaign?
I was with Walk Away really briefly, and I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to make it really quick because the guy who founded it, I don't get along with at all.
Right.
I did him a huge favor, and he kind of fucked me over. Can't stand Brandon, but I love the campaign. It's a great idea. The campaign really wasn't doing anything for the first couple of weeks. It was just sitting there. So they asked people to make videos. A lot of people did videos. They put them on. Still really wasn't doing anything. I did a video, and then it took off immediately after that, like on fire.
Right.
So, I'm really happy that I was part of it and that I got other people involved in it. Yeah. But.
That's good. Yeah.
Boy, that was brief.
So when you talk about the Walk Away campaign, what would you tell people that are kind of unsure on what party they want to kind of lean more towards? I mean, what would be your advice to them?
Well, I think if you care about your country at all, and if you care about future generations coming up, if you have children, I don't have children, but I have 2 nieces and a nephew that I love more than God. I want them to have a better world, and I want it to be a better country for them, and I want them to kind of get what we got. I don't think we should leave them with a bad deal. And the Democrats, if you look at everything that they stand for, open borders, these are not good for our country in the long run. And it's going to be these future generations that have to pay for it. So, if you care, if you can look outside your own being and what maybe you feel and what you want, and look at the bigger picture, I think you'll see that the Republicans are going in the right direction, only because of Trump.
I have a hard time finding as much fault with the right as I do with the left right now. It seems like it's so much easier to find the blatant points of hypocrisy and the road to hell is paved with good intentions style virtue signaling that you see.
I was on the Democrat side for a lot of years. Well, I come from New York. I was in the arts, a lot of theater. I know all these people. I know how they roll. They just base everything purely on emotion. God forbid, if I'm out with a group of Dems and I have a different opinion than theirs, I would get shot down and it would not be good. If I'm out with anytime with my Republican friends, even when I was a Democrat, and if I disagreed with them, it wasn't a big issue. They handled it so much better. Like, I get an eye roll. I get like, okay, Ricky, but like that wasn't, that was it. With Democrats, they want to kill me.
Yeah. I would say an eye roll is a little bit better than being doxxed on the internet.
Yeah.
Unless you want to call it a microaggression, in which case then it can be argued that it's exactly the same.
Right. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Now, obviously being gay, what has it been like for you as a gay man within that community to be a Republican? I would have only assumed that you probably have gotten a lot of backlash for that. Being conservative and being a Trump supporter. What is it? I mean, kind of give the audience a little bit of a descriptive view of what it's been like for you to have to, kind of not really embrace it, but kind of have to take that on.
Well, it really pisses them off because they don't like their gays and minorities to get out of line.
Right.
So, and by me doing it and being vocal about it, the response isn't good. I've gotten called a sellout. You're a sellout, Ricky. I've been called homophobe. I'm gay, and they call me a homophobe, which I always think is hilarious. A Nazi. My mother's a big Jew. I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, they call me the most ridiculous things. Racist. I mean, I've dated a few black guys. Definitely not racist. It's just all these things that they call me, and none of it's true. So it's all they can resort to. It's what they resort to. They can't attack me on the issues because they'll lose. So they got to attack me on, and talk about these guys trying to be like so politically correct. Whenever I argue with Democrats, one of the first attacks they make on me is my sexuality. They go there.
Wow. Wow, you would think that would be the last party that would go that direction.
Well, for a party that's supposed to be tolerant and accepting of individuals, aren't even accepting of their own because they have a difference of opinion, than what they have. So it's just, I think the more we see this, the more we talk about it, the more it exposes the Democratic Party and what they're, what they say one thing, but yet do another kind of scheme. And that's been the ongoing issue. The problem that we have is how do you get people on the Democratic side to see this and start thinking for themselves, because it seems like they're so brainwashed for so many years, the same way with black people. Black people are told that you got to vote Democrat, so the thing that's been going on the last 2 years is, it's time to leave the Democratic plantation, and then you're starting to see more. I've seen it on my end that there's been a lot more black people that are coming out saying, I'm conservative, I'm Republican, I've had enough of the Democratic Party. I'm starting to see that with gays, which has been nice. And so you would hope that the transition over to that different party is going to happen a lot more over the next couple of years, and hopefully by the next election. So what are your thoughts on, so let me ask you this. So recently I've seen some of your posts on Facebook, and you've talked about the squad.
Sorry, can you start that question over again? I accidentally hit the wrong button. Just a question.
Okay, so recently I've been on your Facebook page, and I noticed that you kind of posted this rant about the squad. So what is your beef with AOC and her little members, I guess you can call it, that are part of that squad, and just kind of your thoughts and perspectives on their time that they've had right now in political office, and what does that mean for you? I mean, how does that bother you, if it does bother you in any kind of way?
It really bothers me. I think especially, listen, I'm going to be really honest. I am no fan of Islam. I don't think it belongs in our country. I have no patience for it. I'm not Islamophobic. That means you're afraid of it. I'm not afraid of it. I don't like it, and it goes against my core beliefs.
No, Islamophobic actually means you're afraid of it, irrationally afraid of it.
There's no fear. I've gone up against them in rallies, like spitting agents. No problem. I have no fear of them. But I will say this. So it's kind of strange that the first two Muslim officials that make it into Congress, look what happens. Yeah. Look at the problems they're creating. Yeah. I mean, you want more of that? I mean, the first two to actually reach that point in our government, and look what they do with it.
I guess it depends on your perspective, because the people who voted them in, they kind of feel like they're doing great things for their country, like they're doing exactly what they were elected into office to do. I mean, it really depends on what side of the political spectrum you're coming from to make that value judgment.
Yeah, but something that some people did, I mean, wouldn't that bother you as an American to know that 9/11 happened? I mean, you can't even call it for what it is. That kind of bothers me, and we've had that conversation before.
They're both blatantly anti-Semitic. Let's not lie. They are. I mean, they're calling for the boycott of Israel. I mean, it's anti-Semitic. They are who they are. You got to understand, at the end of the day, they're always going to stick with their own. I've been dealing with these people since the 90s in Brooklyn. I know exactly how they operate. All my years through business. Never good. Always a disaster when I've had to interact with them. Every time. It's been a lot. So, 40 years on the planet, maybe I've learned a lot. And don't get me wrong, there's very nice Muslims or Arabs, but they're irrelevant. They don't matter because they're not driving. They don't say anything against the bad ones. Whenever the bad ones do anything, I look on my Facebook to see what they're. Not a word from them. They never condemn their own for their behaviors. Yeah,
that's because statistically they agree with it. And while they may not be the ones to actually do anything or take action on it, that's just as bad as not taking action on it.
But it's also written in the Quran, as far as the way that they treat, Westerners and Christians infidels. And Jewish. Yeah, we're infidels. Yeah. So it's one of the reasons why you don't hear from the ones that don't, apparently act on it, but rather they just sit there in silence. That's, to me, it's your silence is speaking louder than words. So, I mean, it's just one of those situations where I do agree with you on that stance as far as when it comes to Muslims.
Yeah, and so they elected two into Congress, and look what happened. It's a disaster.
Right.
I mean, the one good thing about it is, though, what's left of the Democratic Party, they're completely pulling it apart. So that's one good thing. I mean, the Democrats have had to make the decision to side with them and go a hard left. So that's one good thing that's coming of it. And it's good for us. It's good for Trump. That's
But I think it's still kind of scary that there is a population out there that believe in their core values and what they stand for. And to me, I think that's what kind of gets lost in translation, that there is this population within the United States that believe that these women are actually doing good things. That's scary all in itself, you know? I mean, go ahead.
They're stupid. That's funny. I could say, well, maybe they feel certain. No, they're just dumb. They're really dumb people. If you think any of that's good, you're a complete idiot. A complete idiot. There's nothing. Name one good policy they've come up. The Green New Deal. Oh my God, we'd all be we'd all be like eating wood in like the woods somewhere and like living in caves.
That's a disaster waiting to happen. I guess I can understand why when people are having these conversations and they see people like AOC and them get up there and they're hearing what they're saying, I can see why they would agree with it and feel like, oh, they're great people. I love what they're saying. This is so smart, because they don't know any better themselves. They haven't been taught how to think critically and how to actually be able to process what they're saying and the implications of what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, in their groups, they're really not allowed to be honest, And this is one great thing about being, on the other side. I don't agree with the Republicans on a lot of things, and I'm very vocal about it, and it's cool. They accept it.
Yeah.
They're actually okay with that.
Yeah, the ability to be self-critical. Yeah.
But like if I was a Democrat and said something, God forbid, if I said something about their precious Barack Obama, please, I'd get like clobbered. Or his husband Michelle.
That's hilarious.
That was awesome. So let me ask you, with everything going on between the left and the right, you've obviously seen the uprising of Antifa, and you've also seen the uprising of the Proud Boys. Are you familiar with any groups? And if you are, what are your thoughts on that whole situation? And are you familiar with what's going on in Portland?
Yeah, I'm familiar with what's going on in Portland. I think it's disgusting, and I have gone up against Antifa. I did an Act for America rally downtown Raleigh at the Capitol, and we were literally like screaming in each other's faces. It didn't get violent, but basically because we had a lot of crazy looking people in our group that like came from like the country in North Carolina, and they were all on camel just like looking crazy. So Antifa didn't mess with us, but yeah, I've gone up against them, and they're definitely a terrorist organization. They're like attacking people. If you have an opinion, you can yell it, you can shout it, but once you break physical, you brought it to a whole other level. And I've actually thought that maybe I should go undercover. I thought this would be a cool thing to do, to go undercover and like become part of Antifa and like exploit the whole thing. But I have a big mouth. I know I'd blow it. Yeah.
So what
he said he's got a big mouth and he'd blow it. I think that's
sexual innuendos for being gay. I don't know what it is.
I don't think that's how you infiltrate Antifa, to be honest.
So what are your thoughts on the Proud Boys? Obviously, they're the group that counter, Antifa.
I love the Proud Boys. I love them. I think they're great. I don't think you should take them as serious as you do. It's kind of like a fun male fraternity. They have a good time. I have friends that are involved in it. They get together. They support each other. And for crying out loud, how serious is it? Their initiation, they get punched to name off breakfast cereals. It's not that serious.
Yeah. Whenever I hear people talk, whenever I hear people talk crap about it, it's like you point out their initiation ritual, and they're like, oh, okay, I get it now.
It's fun. It's a group of guys getting together, and the whole thing is that my friend, who's one of the Proud Boys, is a black ex-Muslim. He used to be Muslim, and he's a Proud Boy. Yeah, they're open to anybody. There's some gays in it. Yeah, like guys.
Right on. So this is something I'm infinitely curious about, because this is something that always drives me nuts. It's like when I'm reading like complex literature and I'm listening to high level intellectual arguments, never once does it cross my mind to think, I wonder where this particular author liked to stick their penis. Like it doesn't even fall into the equation for me. I like to take the arguments for what they are, just take them for their word and see what they say. I don't know why there has to be this need to identify which people you like having sex with in order to have a political opinion. Is that something that bothers you at all? That
Oh, well, I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why I'm putting together a Gays for Trump meetup in Washington, D.C. And I'm going to tell you why I'm doing a Gays for Trump. And a lot of people had problems with this. They were like, why don't you just do it Friends of Trump or Allies of Trump? And I'm going to tell you why. Because the gay community has given him nothing but a hard time and been awful to him since this man entered office. Terrible to him. And so I want to just show that, you know what, we're not all like that. We don't all think that way. I hate the LGBT community. I think it's a joke. I have nothing in common with those people. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's just a bunch of sniveling, self-entitled victims that they make me sick.
well,
I have nothing to do with it. Sorry.
Plus, the more letters they add to this particular acronym, the more obvious it becomes that it's just, well, we're basically anybody but white guys. You know, that's what we are. We're anybody but white guys can be a part of our little club.
Oh, and then the blacks, they want to put like a brown stripe on the flag, and they're just like, it's like, how far are you going to take this shit? And you know what? Transsexuals, listen. Anybody can live however they want. I don't care. But I hate being lumped in with that. And then people are like, well, how do you feel about I'm like, I don't even know. I have no idea. I know as much as you do about it. I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
So let me ask you this. So
they lumped us with the lesbians. That I didn't even get. I mean, we don't have much in common.
So let me ask you this. So, back when there was Gay Pride Month in June, you had a group of guys that were going to do straight pride. It was a parade, I believe, up in Boston. Now, do you think that that's something that should go forth? I don't know if it ever happened. I think they're still in the planning stages for it, but
they're still working on it, and I think it's a great idea, and I think they should do it. I think it's great. Why not?
It would actually be nice to have it to where both, straight and gays could actually have one celebration rather than just kind of segregating themselves away from the rest of the population. It doesn't make any sense.
It does make it a lot easier to meet women or men, whichever you're in. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean,
there's no questions.
No, but at the same time too, I think it's a great way if you had two different sexualities come together, as such as being straight and gay, come together and actually have one moment to where you can celebrate, to where you can almost live in peace and harmony and know that there's a lot of straight people that don't really necessarily care about gay individuals and how they live their life, because truly we don't. You do what you want to do. You live how you want to live. There's a lot of us out there. So I'm thinking in the back of my mind is, why can't we have just one big party, with straight people and gay people and just have a good time? Why does it have to be only gay people can go to this and only straight people can go to that, or only blacks can go to this? Well, I can't say all whites go to this, because then, well, that's racist. But but you know what I'm saying? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts?
Well, you know what? My march in Washington that I'm putting together, it's going to be Gays for Trump, but everybody's invited. Friends, allies, companions. I got straight guys coming. My straight girlfriends are coming. I have a lot of people coming, but I'm just doing it under that name because I want to send a message to Trump personally.
I think you had another unintentional pun. that you have a lot of people coming.
Sorry. Oh yeah. Well, that was last.
So recently,
sorry, my mind just picks up on weird shit like that.
So we've got a friend of ours, Myra, who is a big supporter of Latinos for Trump. Now, for us doing a show like this, it has really given us the opportunity to meet people from different demographics that support Trump in different ways. And if you had to say something to the Latino community about walking away from the Democratic Party, what would you tell them, especially the Latino for Trump supporters? Is there any advice or anything that you can kind of give them to kind of help them with their involvement or movement, as I guess you can say? Because we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, well, I just want to put this in there quickly. The reason why I'm doing the Gays for Trump meetup in Washington is because two Latino gay friends of mine were like, Ricky, you have to do it. Nobody else is doing it. Come on, mommy, do it. Come on. So I'm like doing it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to tell you, I think there are more Republican Latinos than people think. My Latino friends, especially growing up, tend to be very conservative. Their families tend to be very religious, Catholic, and they're very focused on family and important issues like that, where they're much more in line with Republicans than the Democrats. And I have a friend, a coworker, who's also a friend, who's from Mexico. And she said, she took me aside one day. I don't know why she said this to me, because she doesn't know my political opinions or anything. And she said, I just want you to know I'm from Mexico, but I'm not like that. I didn't run across the border. I came here. I had to spend $10,000. I had to wait years. I had to get a lawyer. I just want you to know that I'm not like that.
That is a little disheartening, though, that, just being Latino, you feel the need to have to say that, to have to explicitly say, hey, by the way, I'm not that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like this shouldn't even be a thing. I mean, just, it seems to me pretty straightforward. Like, there is a legal way to get into the country. You come in legally, you're okay. You come in illegally, you're not okay. I mean, I don't understand why this. Okay, I do understand why, but it just breaks my heart that people are getting caught up in the maelstrom of it all.
But I think that could be with any demographic, really, if you think about it.
Like, what do you mean?
I mean, more than just with, Hispanics. I mean, that could be people from Asia. That could be people from the Middle East, especially, because there's such a bad rap with Muslims. You may have those that come over here and you'll be like, well, I'm not a terrorist and I'm not that way and I'm this, that, and the other. But, we've kind of created this dogmatic view of Hispanics and how they get into the country. There's a lot of people out there that feel like that's how they got here, when that's not necessarily the case. And that's kind of the point and what I was talking about with Myra and Latinos for Trump. And, and I find it interesting, too, that a lot of Hispanics that don't live anywhere near the border are more democratic and socialist. But then you got the Hispanics that live more towards the border that actually see what's going on. Yeah. That are more in favor of the wall and are also supporters of Trump. So I just think that it's interesting that it's almost like unless you live in that area or you're exposed to certain situations, you really, you can't say anything. I mean, you can, but it almost seems like you're not educated enough to really speak on that subject, so to speak. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. But I like I said, I think Latinos tend to be a little more conservative than people realize. That's my experience. I grew up in New York, so I grew up with like half of Puerto Rico.
Yeah, that's basically. So out of curiosity, what was it that brought you out of New York and down to North Carolina?
I ended a long-term relationship, and my family had moved here to the Research Triangle Park back in the 1980s, and so I was just going to come down for a few months and just take a break from everything. And then I ended up getting a job offer, so I traveled a lot, and I just kind of like, I don't know, really fell in love and embraced the area, and I'm really happy that I'm here. Yeah.
Now isn't I'm trying to think where it was. I went and visited down there. I did go to North Carolina for a vacation at some point down by the coast. I just can't remember what the name of the town was, but it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. We went to go see some of the older cemeteries and things that have been around for well over a century. And I'm just into that kind of weird stuff, but it was really cool going down there and seeing.
I've been to Charleston.
Charleston, that's where it was.
Yeah, that's where Fort Sumter is, where the first shot of the Civil War took place.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So,
did you have any other topics you wanted to cover before we wrap up today?
No, I think we covered a lot. I think we covered a lot of grounds.
All right. Well, if people want to contact you or if they want to learn more about the Gays for Trump meetup that you have coming up next spring, where can people find that information?
There's a Facebook page, Gays for Trump Meetup Washington, or just follow me on my Facebook page, and I'm going to start posting more as we get a little bit closer to it. And, I'm hoping we can get like a few hundred. That would make me happy. And this is not an organized thing. This is not like any group or anything like that. You don't have to be. This is a bunch of people like getting together to show Trump that there are gay people that support him and that are on his side. And we'd like to show some numbers of that. Yeah, it's basically.
Well, we would definitely love to have you back on again before that happens and kind of see the transition of how far it's come from now until then.
Or during.
Yeah. So
that's an idea.
I mean, you're always more than welcome on the show. We love having you on, and it's been fun interacting with you on Facebook, and you're fun to watch, and a lot of the things that you post, and so
a lot of trouble over there.
What's that?
Say that again.
I get in a lot of trouble on Facebook.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's why you're part of that group page that we have on was it
Unframed Minds.
yeah, Unframed Minds. You know, it kind of gives people a platform to kind of say what they really want to say, and not being so much censored on their own personal Facebook page.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. That page is 125 strong, and so far nobody has gotten super offended, and nobody's gotten blocked or shut down. And we've had some pretty respectful conversations, even from people that have fundamentally way different belief systems. It's pretty cool.
So basically, it's a safe space for people to have open ideas and opinions.
Love it.
There you go.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on and filling us in a little bit about what you got going on. I loved having this conversation, and I'd like to have some more in the future. So,
well, we look forward to having you on again.
all right. So that was yet another uncomfortable conversation without a condom. If you guys want
The
to,
gay edition.
the gay edition. Let's stay hyper focused on what's important, right?
Right.
So we need to make sure to point people toward the website at unframeofmind.com so you can check out all the other videos and podcasts and that kind of thing. And
We're on all major streaming networks,
Yep.
iHeartRadio, Spotify,
and of course, if you want to be a guest on the show, like Ricky here, just let us know, and we'll be glad to schedule in and have another conversation. So, all right.
Until next time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Peace.